Welcome to the coolest stuff on the planet.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Rachel, and joining me today is not Matt, because as you may remember from last week's episode, Matt somehow went missing, still is MIA, not sure where he is. So fortunately, my very nice coworker, Kathryn, who is also an editor here at HowStuffWorks, has stepped in. So welcome, Kathryn.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So today, Kathryn and I are going to take you on a little tour of a city we like to call Hong Kong. And obviously, there's a lot to cover when it comes to this city. And there's a lot of amazing trivia and stuff we could talk about. So we're just going to talk about a few things that are pretty nifty and interesting about the city. So you wanna start, Kathryn?
Yeah, well, the first one that I found interesting was the Hong Kong subway, also known as the Mass Transit Railway.
The MTR has been around since 1979. It is really one of the most efficient systems in the world. And it's also known for being very punctual. Apparently, a couple years ago, a train was a tiny bit late and it made the news. So obviously they value punctuality. And, in a city like Hong Kong, which is so dense, which we'll talk about later, you really want an efficient public transportation system.
And, the other interesting thing about that system is it makes a profit. I don't know how many subway systems can say that in the world, but they're able to do this because they rent the spaces out for the stores in their stations, and also they own the real estate right around the tracks, and they're able to develop that, and so they can generate more cash that way. They made about $1 billion this last year that just passed in profit.
Wow. So they have a good system going there.
Absolutely.
Another really nifty thing about Hong Kong are the Chinese junk boats. And I think you were going to tell me a little bit about that, Kathryn.
Yeah, these have been around for centuries. And what's really interesting about them is the sails of the junk can be moved inward. And so that allows the junk to sail right into the wind, and it allows it to move very fast. And so it's very aerodynamic. And, a lot of catamarans and boats like that nowadays use the same principles. But imagine this was centuries ago, and they were able to also do that.
Today, you're not going to find as many authentic junk boats, riding around the harbor. But you do have some options. For example, you can charter, I think they're reproductions of authentic junk boats. And you can charter them and rent them out and take them around the harbor. There are some free options too. For example, the Hong Kong Tourism Board offers free tours twice a week on a junk boat called the Duckling.
Yeah, and that's an authentic one. That is the last remaining authentic junk boat in Hong Kong. So it's amazing that you can actually get a free tour on that one instead of paying a lot of money to charter one of the non-authentic ones.
Yeah. Wow, what a neat way to experience the history of the city.
Yeah, and get a nice tour of the harbor at the same time.
Yeah, nice, good deal.
Exactly. The next thing on our list is the Tian Tan Buddha. This is an enormous statue. It's about 98 feet tall. It weighs 280 tons. And I believe it's one of the world's largest statues of the Buddha.
Which is saying something, because there are a lot of very tall Buddhist statues in the world. And we'll probably cover some of them in future episodes because they're just so interesting. This Buddha is also known as the Po Lin Buddha because it's associated with the monastery, and the monastery is the Po Lin Monastery. So to get up to the platform where the Buddha statue is, you have to climb 268 steps.
That's a lot. Is there like a escalator for people like me who just don't feel like climbing all those steps?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I have to look into that. We'll get back to you on that.
Okay, well, let me know. Well, it's good to be in shape because here's another thing that's going to probably take a lot of walking. That's the Temple Street Night Market. And a friend of mine who likes to shop, she put this at the top of her list. More for the entertainment value than even for the shopping that you can do. This market comes to life after sundown and runs until around 10 at night.
And this is the kind of market that you'll find a lot in the world, that you can buy everything there. T-shirts and music and knockoff purses and, what have you. All sorts of things. They have food stalls there. And these are seafood stalls, so you can get all kinds of delicious, inexpensive seafood options. But what I love about this is that it's really a cool way to immerse yourself in the local culture, because this is where the locals eat. And I was reading even, Kathryn, that years ago, decades ago, this is really where families would go to eat out. They would come to the food stalls.
Temple Street is also called Men's Street because they have a lot of men's clothing for sale there. A lot of gangster films were set there. And apparently a lot of men's pleasure items are also for sale on the stalls.
So interesting.
Yeah.
We won't elaborate on that, but nice.
The last thing on our list is the mid-levels escalator, which happens to be the world's longest covered escalator.
This thing is super cool, Kathryn. I have to admit, I don't know. I kind of geek out a little bit over this. I mean, it's the longest continuous escalator system in the world. It's a half a mile long. There are 20 separate escalators, 3 moving sidewalks, which are also fun, and it's free.
Yeah, and it was actually built to ease some of the traffic on the streets because Hong Kong is a very congested place. You have about 7 million people packed into 415 square miles. So they actually built this just to ease some of the traffic on the streets by having people able to take an escalator instead of taking a taxi.
Right.
And it actually ended up becoming something of a tourist attraction at the same time.
Yeah, I was reading that it may not actually have improved the congestion issue, but it did boost tourism, so
that's cool. We've learned a lot of things. It's been gone all over Hong Kong and seen some really interesting things and talked about some interesting things.
Yeah. I guess that's all we've got time for today, but we will definitely come back to Hong Kong and talk about the other things.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But we'll see you next time for more cool stuff.
For more on this and thousands of other topics, visit HowStuffWorks.com and let us know what you think. Email travelpodcast@HowStuffWorks.com. Don't forget to check out our other podcasts, free, on iTunes.